and they were fined. Russia, you
mm,
know, that bad country over there where everybody says they're so evil and so bad. They're the ones that outlaw LGBT. They're the ones that outlaw drag queen, all that kind of garbage that goes into the children. They see it. They have conviction. But if you go to America, you have to go in the library, you have a drag queen reading children's stories in front of the children. You have teachers who are being fired because they refuse to use this. They use the word male and female. You have a student just last week who was suspended from school because he dared to say there's only two genders, male and female. He was expelled, not expelled, he was sent home. That's the
mm,
world we're living
mm,
in today.
mm, mm,
That's the decadence we're falling into. The world is falling into.
mm, mm.
I don't know how it is in Indonesia, but
Yeah,
that's how it is in.
we reject about LGBT. Yeah, but some, yeah, uh, some reason uh don't force about don't reject. Yeah, but most of the religions may reject about LGBT.
Mm.
But some have said, yeah. That's why I wonder how it can happen. Yeah.
There are some churches right now, the Methodist Church and other
Mm,
churches who their ministers
mm,
are, and they want to come into their congregation, and they're telling the rest of the congregation,
mm.
we accept this.
Oh.
So does the congregation read the word, or they're trusting their pastor?
Mm,
But if you speak about that on the news, whether it's or radio, you're so-called, or put it on Facebook or Twitter, you are bam, you are knocked off for hate speech.
mm, mm,
Talk about the lie. That's what is going to, and it's not going to get better. And these young people, we have to strengthen them. These young people, and that's really the goal as light bearers, is to strengthen the generation behind us of those who see and do not want to continue in this, but have that conviction and that fortitude to stand up against it with the truth of God and be willing to be persecuted even for it. Anyway, all right, let's go continue on. I think that's the vision. The vision is not only for us, it's for the generations behind us, the women and the men behind us. To stand up and do not compromise, but to hold up to the truth of what Jesus created and, and what he wanted in this world.
okay, Moses, can you continue to read? Moses Siwi, are you there? Moses Siwi,
He was
okay,
there. He left
in
the
there.
pictures.
Okay, I give to Honey first. Yeah, Honey, and then continue by Moses. Okay, Honey, you can continue to read
We
it.
know, we know
Yeah.
that God. Okay, we know that God sends rain on the just and the unjust. Matthew chapter 5, verse 45. But we sometimes forget that believers will suffer tribulation, sometimes along with the word, sometimes along with the word. When it comes to easily discernible verses that pertain to our discomfort, even to our anguish, many would wish to turn the page and claim the promises of God's plan for our deliverance out of every hardship, as if we in this day and age are in a category above the apostle or prophets. God help us.
What do you
Before
mean?
we,
What do you think, Hanny? What do you think? What's being said there?
pardon
And
me,
how? What is being said? What did you just read? What does that mean?
what does that mean?
Yeah. What does this mean?
Uh,
When
How
you're
would we
reading.
apply that today? And how have we applied? How have we seen it already take place in other countries?
yeah.
Just recently. What does this mean?
What does that mean, Pak Surbakti?
No,
Yeah,
come on, Hanny.
yeah.
Come on, Hanny. Think
Yeah,
about what you just read. What is this all? What's this talking about?
yeah. Many would wish to turn the page and claim maybe even we believe in Jesus. It's not mean that everything will going smooth or run. Sometimes we get the tribulation, but in the problem of our tribulation, Jesus help us to overcome the situation, the problems. Maybe about that, no?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I am talking about this. Maybe I'll help you to. I want to bring this home. Just a month ago, Afghanistan Christians were deliberately kept in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Just a month ago, Afghanistan Christians were blocked by a government
Mm.
who called the other countries where they were going to land and tell them not to accept them. Just a month and a half ago, there were Christians in Afghanistan who the people, the terrorists went from neighborhood to neighborhood, hurting and killing. And the children stood up for the Lord. What would happen to Indonesia if financially there was a collapse in the world? And it affected Indonesia as well. And that financial collapse also caused a collapse of your government, in which there was no control. They did not have control of the populace anymore. And there was anarchy and craziness going on in the streets. Is Jesus going to deliver us up into heaven? Or are we going to have to be there to help our neighbors? This is a real thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The law and order is going to break down in countries and in cities and everywhere. And we need to face that. We need to get that in our mind, understand that,
Mm.
so that we can grasp it now and not prepare ourselves, but we can face and say, well, Lord, when that does happen, I know you'll show me what to do. And you'll give me the grace for the hour. That's the other key, is to claim it. Why you're obeying the Lord now in the time of peace. You're taking your quiet time with the Lord now during the time of peace. When confusion hits, the Lord will pour out His grace upon you, and you still will be able to hear His voice and His instructions and His give you that peace and grace in the midst of such extreme confusion. That's what I'm talking about. This is what I need us to see. Some people don't want to talk about this. It's like talking about death and talking about life. Nobody wants to talk about death. They always want to talk about life. Hey, come on, let's look on the bright side of things. Yes, there's a time and a season to look on the bright side of things. But we're asking the Lord, just like a soldier when he's in the military. And those of you who have been soldiers, you know, you are trained. It's not happy time. It's not I feel good time. I want to go out and exercise. I'm going to be a ha 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 soldier. When we were in basic training and we were training during the Vietnam War, there was no happy time. It was called survival time.
Mm. Mm.
And so the Lord is trying to prepare us for survival time so we can survive. Because as we survive, we can be his light. That's what he's looking for. Those who are prepared to survive and be his light. So therefore we have to face what can be in front of us. And we have to take it into consideration. And then we have to say, okay, Lord, I believe, Lord, this is going to happen, but when it does happen, you are going to be with me. You are my shepherd. I'm going to put I'm learning to put my trust in you now. And then by faith and by your grace, I'll have your protection. And you will use me whether I'm on this earth or not. If it's a nuclear explosion, we will return to the Lord. There's nothing we can do. And many of God's children will be in that nuclear explosion. But those that the Lord keeps alive, he wants us to stand, not grasping for life. Oh my God, how am I going to make it? But stand with strength and look out to others and go, how, Lord, what do you want me to do now? How can I be a help to others? Show me who I should care for, who I should reach out for. Is this helpful? I know this subject is not a very positive subject in some ways, but it is very positive because it's strengthening our faith muscles to believe that if the Lord promised us this, he's going to take care of us. He's going to take care of us one way or the other.
Yeah, Tarpy, as you mentioned that if the government collapse, the riot will happen. Yeah,
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was happened in Indonesia in the 1998. Yeah, the riot would happen at time because the government collapsed.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was there.
Oh.
I was there.
Oh
And
yeah.
Yes, I shared that testimony about that Chinese mother who came with her 5 children from Malaysia, and she was in an area, in a community where they were going down the streets, rioting, going into the houses. She was not in Pluit. They'd already ransacked Pluit. They already killed and hurt, as you know, what they did in Pluit. Not in Pluit, but in, Pluit. Yes. But she was on the other side of town. And so the Lord had me go over to her house. I brought another man with us. We were trying to evacuate her. She not only had 5 children, there was another family there with 6 children. My teenagers and younger. And remember I told you that we had to go up on the roof and make a plan how to cross the roofs to get out of one house and get over on the top of other people's houses so that we could get the children and everyone away. And then the riots came down the street, the rioters, and they started going into every house, and they were coming up to the gate to come into the compound of this house, and the house that these children were in were their first house. And another group of rioters came from the opposite direction down the same street, but they had just broken into one of the supermarkets there. And they were coming down the streets with food in their arms, packages in their arm. And so all the rioters were so distracted, they just ran down the street to go into that supermarket. And so they never did come into the house. This is after prayer, though. This is after we've already prayed and asked the Lord for his protection. So, yes. But in that case, it took a few weeks, and then stability came. But what are we going to do when stability doesn't come in a few weeks? But maybe it takes a month or 2 months or 3 months. And that neighborhoods and areas are run by vigilantes. That's the kind of situation that's going to be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
situation where desperately people will be realizing they really need help, one way or the other.
Okay, Moses can continue to read. Yeah. Are you there?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
there.
Moses, Siwi. Yeah. Unmute your mic. Your mic still mute. Your mic still mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Pak Surbakti. I was a little bit late to follow this program. So,
Just read the share screen. Just read it.
Consider what
Consider.
Jesus didn't do with
Yeah.
that part right there, where this
Con-
arrow is.
yeah. Consider what just didn't do for even. Yeah. Okay. Can you read at this share screen? Yeah. At the
consider
top.
what Jesus did.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
You can continue
okay,
to read
okay.
it.
Consider what Jesus didn't do for even John the Baptist, the man who was filled with the Holy Spirit from the womb and thus with paving the way for the Messiah
The Messiah.
himself. Jesus called
Messiah.
him more than a prophet. He didn't deliver him from suffering in prison. Sorry, for suffering in prison before having his head chopped off.
I think the connection problem.
I
Yeah.
think
Is that all I
it's
have
slow
to
on the
read?
internet there.
Internet's very slow. Yeah.
Continue to Jesus' commission.
Edwin Nico, can you continue? Because the connection problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where to start? I don't.
Continue to Jesus' commission.
Jesus commissioned.
Yeah.
Jesus commissioned his apostles
Yeah,
with the
Jesus.
task of making disciples of all nations, and indeed, they turned the world upside down. Guess what Jesus didn't do for them? He didn't spare them for worldly tribulation and persecution. In fact, before Paul and Barnabas were ever sent out on their missionary journeys, Jesus said this concerning Paul, I will show him how many things he must suffer for my name's sake. Acts 9:16. Jesus spoke of the death by which Peter would glorify God. He told his disciples about the extreme suffering and hardship they would endure, being persecuted from one city to the next. History
Is repellent. Repellent. They pronounce that's a new word.
Yeah, history
It's
is
pronounced
repellent,
repellent.
very full
Repellent.
of or
Repleted.
saturated,
Repleted.
repleted with tribulation and persecution in every age. It is my desire to make the time to read through Fox's book of martyrs in the months ahead to strengthen my resolve in coming to grips with this vital truth. Whether persecution or common tribulation, God's saints have arguably been appointed to the words of it. While there are many accounts of God's mighty deliverance in subduing kingdoms and delivering his people from oppressors,